All of my relatives have graduated from university. However, Yoda's older brother, Daisuke, only graduated from junior high school. Junior high school graduates are the last in the family. I want to keep my involvement with Daisuke to a minimum. Yoda is a promising self-defense force member who graduated from university. In comparison, I only graduated from junior high school. So he doesn't want to be treated like a relative by being Yoda's son, even though I only graduated from junior high school. There's no need to talk like this while holding the microphone at a wedding. At that moment, his younger brother Yoda stood up from the old stone and walked over to his father, taking the microphone away from him. Dad, please stop insulting my brother. You don't know my brother's true identity? Huh? His true identity? What do you mean? Dad doesn't know anything. I'm going to make the announcement here today. The truth is, my brother caused everyone in the venue to gasp. My name is Ueno Daisuke. I'm 35 years old and work in construction. I may be living a calm life now, but my life up until now has been full of chaos. First of all, my parents divorced when I was 7 years old. I ended up staying with my father along with my 2-year-old brother, Yo. I wondered why I couldn't go to my mother since I was just a child, but apparently my mother's infidelity was the cause of the divorce. Since then, all photos of my mother have been thrown away, and now I can't even remember her face. If my father had been more responsible, there wouldn't have been many problems, but my mother's betrayal had completely broken my heart. Every day, I would go to the pachinko parlor to forget my sadness, and I didn't work at all. On the contrary, I ended up getting into debt. My brothers and I had never had a full meal since we were old enough to remember. We would always say, "I want to eat my fill." So I wanted to start working as soon as possible, and despite my teacher's objections, I started working as soon as I graduated from junior high school. However, I didn't have any skills. There were very few places that would hire a 15-year-old boy. My only pride was my physical strength, so my homeroom teacher arranged for me to join a construction company called Kitamura Construction as an apprentice carpenter. Joining this company would change my life drastically. No matter how much money I earned, it was obvious that my father would spend it all on the pachinko parlor. When I consulted Kitamura, the president of Kitamura Construction, he invited me and my younger brother to come and live with him. He didn't really care about the two of them, but if we lived in different places, he wouldn't steal money from my wallet. I decided to take Toru's advice and moved with him to the second floor of the Kitamura construction office and started cooking for myself. It was like an adventure when we started when we were 10 and 15 years old. Maybe it's because of those days that Yoda and I are still friends today. The work environment was also very good. The senior carpenters may seem like slaughterers, but they live in a world where even a 1mm error is not tolerated. I was often yelled at while working, but I could feel the love in their voices. I couldn't help but think that I had chosen a good workplace. Eventually, my father got into debt and disappeared. I wondered what he was doing there, but I just filed a missing person report just for the sake of appearances, and that's how it's been ever since. Years passed as I worked desperately hard. When Yoda was 17, he told me that he wanted to go to the National Defense Academy. Japan must be prone to disasters. Saving disaster victims is a major mission for a wise officer. Besides, if he goes to the National Defense Academy, he won't have to worry about his brother. He'll even get a salary and bonus. It's true that the self-defense forces play a major role in reconstruction when a disaster strikes. However, the National Defense Academy is primarily a place to train senior officers. Isn't it the job of lower-ranking officers to be active in overseas deployments? Furthermore, when I think about the current international situation, I feel a great deal of anxiety. If he's aiming for the National Defense Academy because he's thinking about money, I'm against it. There's a good chance he'll be deployed to a dangerous country. Do you understand that? Yes, I do. Even if we're deployed overseas, all we'll be doing is providing humanitarian assistance. I want to help people in need. I couldn't find any more words to persuade Yoda. I studied hard and was accepted into the National Defense Academy. With Yoda's enrollment as a student, our life together came to an end. A strange loneliness took over me, and I couldn't do anything for a while. You could say that my life up until now has been for my younger brother Yoda. When Yoda was gone, a huge hole opened up in my heart. The one who filled that hole was Kitamura Maho, who was 3 years younger than me. Maho was Tu's daughter, and she had grown up around carpenters since she was little. She was a girl, but she would say she wanted to be a carpenter, which really bothered Tu. Maho was only 12 when I started working for Kitamura Construction. But from the first time I met her, I had a sense of destiny. It's really strange, but I vaguely thought that I would marry Maho in the future. Maho must have been happy that someone close to her age had found a job. I've made up my mind. When I grow up, I'll marry Daisuke. Uncles, please take good care of Daisuke. I won't forgive you if you make me stop. At that time, none of the other carpenters cared. I was expecting Shiharu, so I was embarrassed to hear Maho declare her relationship so loudly. But Maho looked straight at me. I was conscious of Maho's eyes, but I made a conscious effort not to make eye contact. The reason Maho and I suddenly became close was because Futoshi went on to college. I had been so focused on Futoshi that I hadn't noticed anyone else, and now Maho caught my eye. From then on, I spent every day chasing after Maho with my eyes. When Maga was about to graduate from college, Hatu spoke to me. So, when are you two going to get married? If you date for too long, you'll miss the chance. Are you sure you want someone like me to be with Gama-san? Ma-san graduated from college. I only graduated from junior high school. I thought we wouldn't be a good match. That's not the issue. What matters is your feelings. If I feel that way, does that mean Maho's feelings are already made up? As a man, I have to make a firm decision. I proposed to Maho. Maho complained while crying that it was too late. And so Maho and I ended up getting married, but I was a little worried about the issue of our surnames. Maho is the only one in the Kitamura family, and we don't have any parents we can rely on. In that case, it would seem natural for me to enter the Kitamura household and become Kitamura Daisuke. However, when I spoke to Hato, he flatly denied it. Your marriage to Maho has nothing to do with the Kitamura household. Maho has no children, so she is not the one to inherit Kitamura Construction. I will decide who my successor will be. I think Hato's words are natural, and I wasn't disappointed in any way. Rather, I felt relieved, and I held the wedding with the intention of making Maho happy. It has been almost 10 years since Maho and I got married. I joined Kitamura Construction when I was 15, and it has been almost 20 years since then. Yoda successfully graduated from the National Defense Academy and is now in the Ground Self-Defense Force. He rose through the ranks as an officer and is now 30 years old. He has now been promoted to first class. I am not familiar with the self-defense forces or military ranks, so I don't know for sure, but he says that in the old military, it would be equivalent to a general title. I've become busy and can only see Yoda a few times a year, but seeing him grow has been my purpose in life, so I'm happy that he's been steadily climbing the ranks. But I'm not just throwing my hands up in the air and celebrating Yoda's dedication to the self-defense forces. In fact, my stepfather, Hatu, is working to protect the Constitution and is negative about the self-defense forces. He doesn't say anything to me, but he's suspicious of the unstable world situation and the government spending money on the military. I've been quietly interacting with Yoda while respecting my stepfather. One day, Yoda called me and said he'd decided to get married. His partner's name is Yasui Eika. She's a 28-year-old office worker. They met through their boss, and they've been dating ever since they met, and now they're getting married. I really want her to attend the wedding. We don't have much room for family, so I'd like my sister to attend too, since it's a happy occasion. Of course I'll be there. I heartily congratulated Yoda on his marriage. When I told Maho, she said of course she'd be there. Erica's father is a council member and is currently involved in a large-scale development project that she is planning. That makes it seem like they would get along even better. Erica's mother died of illness when Erica was 5 years old, and they have one child ready to go. Yoda is also determined to make her happy. They had planned to have a family reunion, but neither of them had the time, so it ended up being on the day of the wedding. So the day of the wedding was the first time I met Yasutoshi, who will become Yoda's father-in-law. I was so nervous that I felt like vomiting and going crazy before leaving. It really helped that Maho was calm. We headed to the wedding hall and talked to Yoda in the groom's room. Yoda was dressed in a beautiful Riku outfit and had a saber hanging from his waist. Even as his older brother, I was captivated by how cool he looked. Gifu no Shi is a veteran city council member and has been appointed chairman of various groups, so Yoda apologized on his behalf, saying that he hadn't had much time. When I told him that I didn't care about that, he looked relieved. Since we hadn't met in person, I wanted to at least greet him before the wedding, but he didn't show up at the wedding venue for a long time. While I was waiting for him to arrive, it was time for the ceremony to begin. The ceremony was held safely at the new venue, and the ceremony began in the afternoon. Maho and I went to greet the new father's family members at the table, but I was concerned about the lack of response. I was nervous, thinking that the ceremony would be full of self-defense force attendees, but there were more men in regular formal wear than I had expected. The ceremony began without Tashi showing up. The groom's priest entered as 3 men in neat self-defense force uniforms played trumpets. The master of ceremonies took the microphone and continued the celebration. In the middle of the master of ceremonies' speech, the door suddenly opened, and a thin, fat man walked in swiftly. Sigh. Finally, Erica's father, who was also a member of the ceremony, arrived. Since we're here, I'll end my speech here and let his father say a few words. The town erupted in applause, and Tashi took the microphone as if it was the most natural thing in the world. I was surprised to see that he was the first of his kind. She took the microphone and began a lengthy self-introduction, describing his achievements in the city council before saying something outrageous. All of my relatives graduated from university. However, Yota's older brother, Daisuke, only graduated from junior high school. Junior high school graduates are the last in the family. I want to minimize my involvement with my beloved son. So he doesn't want me, a junior high school graduate, to act like a relative if Yota becomes his son-in-law? He doesn't need to talk like this while holding the microphone at a wedding. Maho stood up with an angry look on her face. What's that guy thinking? There are all kinds of people here. Isn't he mistaking this for his political fundraising party? Calm down. He should just ignore that. That won't work. This is not only an insult to us, but also to Yota. Maho was about to approach Tashi, ruining our precious wedding, so I stood up and tried hard to stop him. It's that guy's fault that we didn't even get to meet our family. He kept saying he was busy because he didn't want to see us. You don't know that. Just sit down. It was at this moment that his younger brother Yota stood up from the old stone, walked over to his father-in-law, and took the microphone. Dad, please stop insulting my brother. You don't know my brother's true identity? Huh? What do you mean, his true identity? Yota stood up straight next to his father-in-law and began to explain. I'm sorry. My older brother got a job at a construction company after graduating from junior high school. He overcame many hardships and is now the president of Kitamura Construction, which is said to be the best in the city. Kitamura Construction, but your brother's last name is Ueno, right? If you became the daughter of Kitamura Construction, shouldn't you be Kitamura Sei? The name doesn't matter. You can inherit Kitamura Construction even if you don't inherit the name. That's proof of my brother's greatness. The faces of the townspeople turned pale. Yota continued. Dad is currently focusing on the development project in the city. My older brother, Daisuke, is holding the head ceremony for that project. The people above may say whatever they want, but do you understand the hardships of those who are actually on the scene? That's a given. Is that so? I don't think so. If my marriage to Erika causes even the slightest bit of embarrassment to my brother, I'd rather forget this marriage never happened. Maho, who somehow managed to sit down, claps her hands at Yota. Ever since the beginning, Maho has never forgiven anyone who insults me. In a sense, she's been devoted to me since she was 12. You're wonderful, yo. Tell me more. We're embarrassed to be related to a bald guy like this. Yota continues to smile wryly. I don't know how important the city council member is, but I don't know anyone more wonderful as a person than my brother. He's also the only flesh I have now that my father is missing. Here, I'd like to ask Erika, who has become my wife. Erika, who had been completely bewildered in her wedding dress, stands up and quietly walks over to Yota. Erika, you became my wife at the wedding earlier. But you haven't officially taken your seat yet. Will you still come with us even if we're separated? Yota hands the microphone to Erika. I hold my breath nervously. Erica replies cheerfully. Of course I'll come with you. My father often insults people. My friends used to hate me for it. It's been hard for me to have a father like that for so long. After saying that, Erica covers her face with her white-gloved hands and starts crying. Yoda takes the microphone and gently strokes Erica's shoulder. Thank you, Erica. I think there will be many trials waiting for us from now on. But if it's the two of us, we can overcome them. Let's overcome them. Yes. Maho claps loudly. Most of the other guests were people involved, but I could hear a few halting applause. Before I knew it, it spread throughout the venue. I applaud Yoda and Erica too, congratulating them. I'm sure these two will be able to face the trials that will come their way in the future. Maho whispers softly to me. It turned out to be the best wedding ever, didn't it? Look at how happy the two of them are. That's right. The host will have a tough time from now on, but it's not a fatigue school that you can participate in many times in your life. Maho calmed down and sat down in her chair. I also returned to my seat with relief. At that moment, the man sitting at the table in front raised his hand. Yo-kun, you said well. I'd like to say something too, is that okay? I'm Tachibana Ro, a city council member just like Takashi, the chief council member. Please come in. Tachibana slowly stood up from his seat and headed to the men's room where Yoda and Erica were. After taking the microphone, Tachibana first offered his congratulations on Yoda and Erica's marriage. He turned to the seats behind him and began to speak quietly. In fact, I also only graduated from junior high school, so I was similar to society. That's why I can understand the groom's older brother's feelings. In Japan, it's a society that values academic credentials, so the jobs we can get without high school are limited. I gave up on many dreams. That's right. I looked up at Tachibana and nodded vigorously. Tachibana continued. I gave up on many dreams too. It wasn't that I didn't have the academic ability, it was that I didn't have the money. I thought I couldn't do anything without money, so I just worked to make money. But there was no happiness. Tachibana cleared his throat slightly, trying to calm the storm of emotions that must have been welling up in his chest. He resented not being born into a wealthy family that others envied. One day, he had the opportunity to get involved in volunteer work, and that was the first time he felt the joy of being alive. He became a council member because he wanted to do something for people. Perhaps irritated by Tachibana's long speech, she shouted. What are you trying to say? The mission of a city council member is to work as the hands and feet of the citizens. Did you come all the way here just to call Hanako's brother, a citizen, the family's scumbag? The venue gradually became noisier. Not everyone connected to Shi has bad intentions towards him. Rather, the people who are closely connected to Shi are probably the ones who know how bad his personality is. Voices of disapproval of Shi could be heard from all around. Shi didn't even attend his own daughter's ceremony. He probably thought it would be good if he could greet people who would benefit him at the school. So what if the groom's brother only graduated from junior high school? A junior high school dropout is a disgrace to the family, and a cheap politician is a disgrace to our death. Some people were yelling, that's right, while others ran up to me and vented their daily frustrations. I ran out of the venue as if I was running away. Two men who seemed to be close to me were chasing after me. Insults were hurled from all directions, such as, "Are you trying to escape?" and "Cowardly?" Yoda took the microphone again and addressed the remaining guests. "I'm truly sorry that this has caused such a commotion. If you find this unpleasant, please go home. If you still have the desire to celebrate us, we will continue with the wedding as planned, so please enjoy yourself." Quote. Yoda handed the microphone to the MC and returned to Shinroishi. The MC was also experienced and continued the ceremony as if nothing had happened. I was worried that the groom's family would feel awkward since it was just me and the MC, but there was no problem. Everyone's spirits were high after the big commotion at the beginning of the fatigue garden, and tables here and there were buzzing with talk about the future of death. They would come over to us with drinks and offer their blessings. The future of death is in your hands, so make this a wonderful year. You're amazing for being president with just a junior high school diploma. You're at the center of the plan in creating new deaths, so you have a huge responsibility. Every time, I would bow my head repeatedly and put on a smile. I had wanted to keep a low profile until the end, but in the end, I was forced to give a speech. I promised to create a city where everyone can have fun. Please support me. The entire town, including Futoshi and Erika, applauded. It was a strange wedding, but it was certainly an unforgettable one. Yoda and Erika's wedding somehow ended safely. However, it didn't seem like the end of it at first. Someone who had attended the fatigue garden had originally written about it in the newspaper's readers' comments section. The names of the attendees were kept secret, but it was said that there was a city council member who said that having a junior high school education was a disgrace. That incident caused an unexpected stir. Unlike in the big cities, rumors spread naturally in regional cities, so it soon became common knowledge that the person whose ideology was written in the newspaper was Takashi. I don't even think of Takashi as a relative to begin with, and I have no intention of associating with him in the future. While I, the person in question, was relieved, Gifu's was furious. That man is not qualified to be a city council member. He should find his own job. Dad, calm down. I don't think anything of it. I don't want to fall to the same level as that man. Well, that's the thing. From what I've heard from people around me, it seems that the city council may be submitting a resolution calling for his resignation. I was surprised by this story. Perhaps City Councilor Tachibana, who was present at the event, was taking his temperature. However, I didn't do anything wrong as a city council member, so I can't help but feel that it was going too far. When I expressed my opinion, Maho objected loudly. You've been putting up with it like this all along. But I have to make my point. If you had a path to go to college, you would have chosen it. It's the job of a politician to think about such paths. Now that you mention it, that's certainly true. I don't like the word, what if, so I don't use it much, but if I had gone to high school or college, my life would have been completely different. Still, living my life up until now, I don't have many regrets. I think that's because I've been blessed with the people around me. I joined Kitamura Construction, was trained as a carpenter by my seniors, and was recognized by Hato. Meeting Maho wouldn't have been possible if I had gone to high school or college. If I had married a woman who wasn't magical, I would have been relatively happy, but I can't imagine anyone else being a Maho. I still want to marry Maho in my next life. But there are still boys and girls who are struggling because they only graduated from junior high school. I wish I could reach out more to those who had to work after graduating from junior high school. I think that's the way to make society a little better, and I think that changing society for the better is the job of a politician. In that sense, it may be no wonder that Takashi is said to be unfit for the job. Erika, who had started living with him as a married couple, completely cut off all ties with him. According to the story, she blocked all phone calls from him and would never let him into the apartment where they were living. The following conversation is said to have taken place on the other side of the apartment door. I am Yoda's wife and my brother's sister-in-law. That's why I'm a disgrace to the family. Don't say things like that. I'll apologize, so please forgive me. Even so, Erika would never open the door. But the words he said, a junior high school dropout is a disgrace to the family, had a big impact on his relatives. Everyone began to feel ashamed of being Takashi's relatives. I can't stand being in the same category as a man like that. I don't choose people based on their educational background. I don't want to be lumped together with him. That man is a disgrace to the family. I heard that he's also cut off all ties with his daughter Erika. I want to cut off all ties with that man too. This led to him becoming isolated. To begin with, for someone who had lost his wife at an early age, Erika was the only person he could call family. It's fair to say that watching Erika grow up was the greatest joy in my life, and it was truly my purpose in life. No one cares about me anymore. I'm simply hated. Now that I'm alone, more misfortune befalls me. A resolution calling for Takashi's resignation was submitted to the assembly. It wasn't because he had demoted me to a junior high school graduate, but because the various irregularities he had committed up until now had come to light. When I investigated what he had done during his nearly 20 years of service, one evil deed after another came to light. Illegal receipt of tax activity expenses, pressure on the company president Shihaya to enroll in school illegally, falsification of delivery notes for computers, etc. It was amazing how much came to light. However, there's no doubt that the trigger was Yoda's comment at the fatigue school. Up until then, he had been strong-willed, but after being cut off by Erika, he had completely lost his energy and showed no fighting spirit. Thus, Takashi quit his job as a city council member and became a shut-in at home. No one loved him, and he wasn't even in the same room as him. He also took over the role of cultivating various sports groups and volunteer groups. There was nothing left to do at home anymore. I wonder what he's thinking living in this quiet house where no one visits. 5 years have passed since the city development plan, which we at Kitamura Construction are working on, began and the end is in sight. The city center has changed dramatically. The narrow sidewalks have been widened and a separate bicycle lane has been built, which has significantly reduced the number of accidents involving pedestrians and bicycles. A park with lush greenery where children can play safely is also nearing completion. I take Maho and my eldest son, Oga, who is 4 years old, to the park. Oga is excited to see the colorful playground equipment. But it's not finished yet, so I can't let him play to his heart's content. Let's play, let's play. Not yet. Let's play in the sand. Taiga looks dissatisfied. He usually loves playing in the sand, but the new playground equipment seems to be more appealing to him. When can we play? I pat Taiga on the head. It'll be finished by the time Taiga becomes a big brother. Almost there. I say this as I stroke Maho's belly next to me. Maho is now 7 months pregnant. I'm thinking it would be nice to have a girl this time, but Ogo wants a boy. Why not? It's cute too. We'll play adventures together. I see. Play adventures as siblings. That sounds fun. We ask not to tell them the sex of the child. No matter which one is born, they'll be loved the same. Even Taiga, who says he wants a little brother now, will surely dote on a little sister. But I know how precious siblings are. If I had a little brother, he'd surely become as close and irreplaceable as Yo to me. And so, Erica and I meet once a week and have a great time together. Soon, the two of them will have their first child. It's going to be a lively time. I can't wait.